I think religion is very much, you know, man-made, but I have faith in God. I have faith in humanity. So as a Baha'i, basically, I have to accept every religion, which makes it easier. So it's like, hey, you can be almost friendly to everybody. So why not? But this is a much easier path than saying that, hey, we're the right path and everybody else is the wrong. God doesn't have any timeline. There is no watch or anything that somebody's keeping time on. But what's going on is, in reality, human is progressing. We are definitely moving forward. We're definitely progressing, advancing. Now, in the time when Judaism came in, at that time, obviously lots of slavery going on, and Moses came and saved the slavery within one generation. Christianity, Islam, they all came in different time of the human era. And the message for that time was designed for that time. And absolutely, I have to agree on that message in the past, but right now, in this time and era, this is the message from God that's coming in. And that's what we have to obey. So we cannot just omit Hinduism or Buddhism or Christianity and say that Baha'i is it. Being a Baha'i makes me a better Muslim.
How's that?
Because now I have to really research what's really written in Quran and what is that real version of it, instead of is it just human written or not. Because you will hear a lot of Muslims say that, hey, Quran is the book that hasn't changed at all. But did you know that Quran was written 20 years after Muhammad died by human beings? And human beings has flaws. So, like I said, I do more independent research on everything instead of just listening to something and just say that, hey, I believe in that. So I find out information, and which makes me, like I said, a better Muslim. Because in Islam, it's truly a religion of peace. But the way it's getting interpreted now these days, it's totally putting a bad image to the Muslim community. But a true Muslim really cannot hurt anyone. If one nation starts a war with other, it creates a turbulence in the whole human. Everybody gets bothered by it. So when these 7 billion people are getting bothered by it, I think slowly there's going to be a day, no need of war. Hitler, Saddam Hussein, my boy, we all came the same way. Extremely pure with a clean slate. So it's our duty to figure out ourselves out and bring out the good qualities in us. Absolutely, we can bring the bad qualities of us at the same time. If you are thinking hey, I'm here in this world and this is the one chance I'm getting, what is the good that I can do? And the choice is free will and it's based on me. I believe if you look at the trend, God has never left us without help. And if God helped us during the time of Pharaoh, during the time of Jesus, during the time of Muhammad, during the time right now with Baha'u'llah, God will definitely send another messenger when humanity gets a little bit disoriented. Now, as that being said, people, they project and they say things saying that yes, Jesus is the only way for you to reach the Father, who is God, and Muhammad is the last. Now, I had a hard time believing in that because I asked the question to God, at the time of Pharaoh, how many people were here in this world? Not that many at all. There wasn't 7 billion people. I mean, right now is the time when we really need, a guidance from you so we can keep our thoughts straight. And I think, Baha'u'llah is definitely the person for that. Now, if I'm going to say, is Baha'u'llah is in the same category of Muhammad and Jesus? It's the same messenger that's coming in from God. There are boundaries of God. And if God is going to make you a prophet, God's going to make you a prophet. For example, why did God make you and not me instead in your place? So there is a reason for all these beings, and that's a choice by God who decides that. So I'm not gonna, like I said again, I'm not gonna say. I don't think you can go to a school and become a prophet. Yeah, because it's really funny because one time I've met a person who had a PhD in Islam, and I'm like, wow, even our Prophet Muhammad did not have a PhD in Islam. So I mean, how can you say that? So it's a God's land, and God decides that part. That's not. I don't think it's my part to decide.
So you think there's a clear division between you and God?
Absolutely.
And what is that division?
It's unknown mystery that I'm trying to figure it out. And what I'm using right now, I'm using all my senses, my intelligence. I think it's a good mystery. I don't think it's bad. It's definitely powerful, and it's something I should pay attention to, respect. And there are certain times I shouldn't argue with it. So if life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. Don't complain about it. There are many people with a very strong religion that still has hard time opening. So one of the question I will ask, like, do you think Baha'i makes you become more open to humanity or to society? I think it teaches that, but it has to be inside your heart. Being angry is a good thing sometimes, and but how are you tackling that anger, in a constructive way or in a destructive way? I mean, in my real life experience, it's like I had to let go of my medical career because it was upsetting me every day, and had a very good salary, took nice vacations. Life was good. Life was really good, man. But when I had to deal with certain ethics and had to deal with the CEO and the risk management, and I had to lie, at that time, I got angry. And at that time, it was a decision that I had to make that, hey, I'm going to let go of my medical career and sell euros across the street, because I'm not going to stay in such a lucrative job and lie and live with my conscience. So I think anger was good. I mean, anger was really good for me. If you are wise enough, it's definitely possible not to get involved in a situation where the trouble comes from. Now, you have to be definitely a pretty wise person to look into the future and say that, hey, I'm not going to do this or get involved in this because it may create trouble. There's 5 main senses: anger, sadness, fear, disgust, and happiness. That one word, happiness, can over-trump everyone. But there's other 4, and it's going to be part of us. I mean, for me, I'm a much happier person now with less money than I was when I was in the medical career. We just happen to be the 3rd planet from the sun, and this 3rd planet just happens to have plants and water. I mean, are these just all miracles? So if all this can happen, why cannot resurrection happen? If resurrection didn't happen, where will Christianity be today? If Moses didn't end slavery within 1 generation, where will Judaism be today? But that's where the philosophy comes in. It's like, now you talk about it and you think about it, and then you reason about it. And in your reasoning, you have to have definitely a logical head. You just cannot blindly believe, like, yes, resurrection happened and that is it. But let's look at all the other trends. And if somebody did make the universe and the creator, resurrection is a piece of cake. Now, if anybody is listening to this, I can almost guarantee you this, that God is actually a woman. God is not a man. And how positive I am, just like this cell phone. I can drop it, and that's how confident I am that God is actually a woman. Your relation with spirituality and religion has nothing to do with gender base or anything, but in this time of masculinity, another question I should ask is, how come there wasn't any female prophet?
There have been very few though.
Very few, yeah, supposedly there was. And in the future, will there be a female prophet? And then what are we going to do then? Yeah, so it comes to the point where you really not look into the spirituality with the eyes of men or women. You look into the eyes with your heart, with your mind. Dreams are very important. I'm not talking about just lucid dreams and all that. For example, I had one friend. He used to meditate 7-8 hours a day, and I used to look at him, and I'm like, "How's your meditation?" And he used to look almost worn out. He's like, "Oh yeah, it was good." And then I'm like, "Wow, if I meditated that many times, I would be an icon." And then he asked me, "Then when do you meditate?" I'm like, "Well, I meditate when I go to sleep, and I actually do the things when I'm awake. So during my wake hours, I don't meditate. I meditate in my sleep." And he couldn't figure that out. I'm like, "Well, it's a practice. That's what you do. When you try to go to sleep, that's when your meditation should come in. You should be in a comfortable place. You should be able to let go of certain things. If you're angry, let's decrease the anger. And that's when you dream. And that's when you dream the important dreams." I've been exercising this since 2004. This dream part. Actually, the first time it started was I was a part of study for a dream group.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever I was dreaming and whatever was going on with my life, I had to write a couple of paragraphs and send it to the University, North Carolina. And that's when it got more and more interesting, and that's when the journals I kept in, and that's when things started to make sense through the dream, because dream is metaphor. In dream, just because you see something doesn't mean that's what you saw. There is a meaning behind that. So we dream with symbols. That takes, but in daily life, you have business to run, kids to pick up, and you kind of lose that structure. But then again, you don't want to meditate 10-12 hours a day and kind of miss out on kids' life.
Do you think it's possible to maintain that balance of structure?
Yeah. This hand has two sides. Your body has two symmetries. Part of the world is night and the other part is day. You look at this tree, but there's definitely roots going down. Everything is balanced. It's how meticulous and how perfect you want this balance to be.
So the more meticulous we are about balance, the more godly we'll become?
Godly? I think more spiritual. Yeah. Things makes more sense. It's easier to read between the lines. Like, oh yeah, that's probably the reason. Let it go.